I think that right now I am under a big pressure right now because about this talk, the life of my family is at stake and the life of many other people. And I gotta do the same. So I am not a professional speaker, so please bear with me. My name is Jose Figueroa. I am from El Salvador. My wife and I came into Canada in 1997 and are the proud parents of 3 Canadian children, Jose Ivan, Esmeralda, and Ruby. My wife and son, they are here in the crowd today. We love Canada the very same way that we love El Salvador. Canada provided our family with a safe place where we have been working, making friends, and overall, we have been helping my son, who in 2002 was diagnosed with autism. The immigration authorities issued a deportation order against me just last year. That was the darkest day of my life. That deportation order is threatening the future of my family. At this point, silence is not an option for us. I am convinced that they are wrong, and I am not the only refugee who is at risk. My challenge today is to provide you with facts about the immigration case that would allow you to reach objective and logical opinions in just 15 minutes. And I hope that you will feel the need to do something to join me in making a change to this problem with immigration law before it is too late. Well, I think that there is a problem with these things, but I have to make this speech, try to get the message clear. So you are waiting for a speaker, but you are going to listen to somebody that is talking by the heart. The immigration authorities issued a deportation order in May 2010. It was one of my darkest days. I think I have said that. My challenge today is, I already said that, sorry. Okay, let's start by telling you about where we are from and why we came into Canada and applied for a refugee to be here. My wife and I graduated as teachers from the University of El Salvador. I was a student union in my faculty and also a member of the faculty council representing the students. During the time of the Civil War in El Salvador, just being a student at the university was dangerous. I was a student leader, and that made me a target of death squads. The reason why I decided to join the student union, despite the risk, was that I could no longer remain silent in the face of what was happening to innocent people in El Salvador. In the 80s, there were atrocities being committed against our people, and we were witnesses of that genocide being committed by an oppressive military regime that was being backed up by the United States of America. Roberto Dawison, a leader of a death squad, along with some other army members, they were the ones that led a genocide against our people and took the life of more than 80,000 Salvadorans between 1980 and 1992, not including the thousands more that died before 1980. That is when I first truly learned about the T word, tyrant. Archbishop Romero, who was murdered by the death squad, tells us his stories and his homilies about the atrocities and the injustices of our people before 1980. I was just a kid when Archbishop Romero was killed. And the images of people being repressed by the government, they left a mark in my mind. I grew being fearful of the death squads and of the Salvadoran army. Knowing what was going on, I did what thousands of Salvadorans did. I joined the student union movement to try to save my country. At that time, the only group with courage enough to fight this was the FMLN, the Farabundo Martí for National Liberation Front. We supported it, and we believe that we're going there to save our country. But with tyrants, things are never simple for the people. Despite the peace agreement of Chapultepec in 1992, the political unrest continued, and due to my role as a student leader and my political support of FMLN, I became a target of revenge. In 1997, my wife and I arrived in Canada and made a refugee claim. I will never forget that day. I will never forget how it felt to fill out the paperwork at the custom. It was kind of a strange feeling, you know, because I was trying to describe the horrors of the war in just a form that were requested in immigration. In my original refugee claim, I openly and honestly stated my support of relations with FMLN. I told him what my relation with FMLN was. Before I left El Salvador, I always thought that Canada was a place where human rights always were respected. And it was my first option as a place to be safe. I talked to a Canadian UN Blue Helmet who was overseeing the peace agreement in 1992, and he was the one who brought to me the idea that Canada has a 100-year tradition of protecting refugees. And later on, I contemplated Canada as the place where we could start our lives after constant years of struggle. We have strong ties in the community, and as you might expect, in a very Canadian way, they welcome us with open arms. In 2002, like thousands of children in each year, our son was diagnosed with autism. My son is an extraordinary and wonderful boy. Like any parents, we would do anything to support him. And so we decided that I would continue working, and my wife was going to be the only one taking care for his needs with autism. Despite not having a defined status for a long time and not having even access to Medicare, we did what we could and love our children more and more every day. But then it happened. The T word returned in our lives. But at this time, in a post 9/11 Canada, the T word meant something very different: terrorism. At the end of December 2009, we received a notice to appear at an admissibility hearing. It was then that we heard for the first time the allegations of deportation order. You cannot imagine what was my feeling when I was hearing that. The adjudicator of the admissibility hearing declared that I am inadmissible into Canada because I was a member of an organization that carried out acts of terror while I was a member. Can you imagine what one day you're being told that you were actually a member of a terrorist organization? This was not true. It was a mistake. How could someone say such a thing? You know, they made this ruling based on Section 34.1 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, and the implication of this is that FMLN is a terrorist organization. The ruling against me is erroneous, for so many reasons, and I wonder how many others are powerless to do anything about it. Consider this. And this is the most important part. Just 2 years ago, the FMLN form government in El Salvador. The Canadian government recognizes FMLN as a democratically elected government and even has diplomatic relations with El Salvador. My question is, how can we deport them once and have a strong diplomatic relations with them? There is a general list of entities administered by CTC, the Counterterrorism Committee of the United Nations. Canada has its own list of entities, and it is revised regularly and published in the official paper, La Gazette. You know what? FMLN is not on that list. CIC, Immigration and Citizenship, knew about my relation with FMLN the very same day that I made a refugee claim. No allegations of membership with a terrorist organization were brought up then. Then the question is, why after 13 years? I tell you these things to illustrate that our system is erroneous and innocent people are in danger. It all has to do with a broad definition of terrorism, which is intended to include everyone who is involved in terrorism in some way. But this broad definition of terrorism, such as the one used in Section 34.1 of the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, is also catching innocent people who are not terrorists, bringing them into admissibility hearings and making them face deportation and something worse if they are forced to return to the country that they have fled. I think that you could agree with me that there is a fundamental difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter who seeks to resist a tyrant government. I want to illustrate this problem with the current immigration laws so that hopefully this cannot happen to another person in Canada again. Nelson Mandela is more than an extraordinary leader in our time. He's an honorary Canadian citizen as well. Imagine for a moment that he was not as famous and well-known based on the system that I have shown you today. If he was seeking refugee status or immigrant status here in our country, he would be found inadmissible because he was once member of the ANC, the same ANC that fought the apartheid in South Africa. Can you imagine anyone labeling him as a terrorist? This is not just my struggle, but it's the struggle of hundreds, maybe thousands. At this moment, many people are facing this situation now, today, here in Canada. Once one of the speakers said this years ago, Rwanda will never ever leave me. It's in the pores of my body. My soul is in those hills. My spirit is the spirit of all those people who are slaughtered and killed that I know of and many that I didn't know. General Romeo Dallaire once wrote those words about what he saw in Rwanda, and I feel the same way about El Salvador. Our failure to broadly define the T word has made it a word that no one can truly understand or agree upon. That is the problem, and something must be done. There is an urgent need to deconstruct the definition of terrorism and find a definition that will be closer to justice and not just the law. The law cannot be just the law. It must be justice. That's what we have been saying. Every country has the right, and I would say not only the right, but the obligation to to defend their citizens against terrorism. But at the same time, I would say they have the obligation to respect innocent people that are being characterized as terrorists. No honest, hardworking citizen should ever lose their home country, ever, even one time. And yet, like so many others, I am now in danger of losing it twice. It is an honor and a privilege to be in this stage today. And on behalf of those that have been changed forever by the T word, I thank you for listening and standing beside us. We take action to solve this problem before it is too late. Sorry, I am just speaking my heart because there are so many other people that are being threatened by this. My family is being threatened by this. I know I am over the time now, but I just want people to listen to this because the future of my family, the future of many people, they are at stake.